Joining today from the Department of Ag Trade Consumer Protection is my friend Michael. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being back. We're going to change it up today.
Okay.
I was a little hesitant to do this one. Not because it's bad or anything, but it's very interesting. And it's a story, and it has to do with scams. And you had mentioned to me off air, and I think you should repeat this, that scams come in so many different forms, so many different ways. This one was a personal scam that we're going to talk about today, so it's definitely keep an eye on, even know what's happening in front of you day to day, I think. But set us up here. This is very interesting. This isn't your typical scam of, I don't know, somebody called me out of the blue, or somebody sent me an unwanted this, red flag here. It was personal.
It was. You know, the reason we want to talk about this is we want to kind of dispel that belief that the only type of scammer out there is somebody who is sitting, in a dark room in that black hoodie with 7 computer screens and, never coming out and talking and manipulating people and stealing, or really these people from other countries that are trying to infiltrate the U.S. and commit these scams and send the money back overseas. And that's not always the case. And we certainly don't want to add yet another red flag or scare tactic to be looking for. But it is something that, as we see it, we want to make sure everyone's aware of. And as you mentioned, now we've seen a couple of them where, unfortunately, they're friends and family who are exploiting each other.
Yeah, this one is interesting, and it picks on an area that I think could be so easy to be like, okay, I get it. You're going to do this for me, or you've got this angle, let's exploit it, or let's go with it, but they exploited the person instead. And it had to do with travel, this whole travel piece. So set us up. What happened to this folk?
This particular individual had worked for a national hotel chain, and the friends and family in this person's network knew that they had worked there for a while. And this chain was affiliated with, other rental car agencies and flights and vacation packages and things. And so what they were doing was they were pitching it under this friends and family program that they could offer these great deals on all these different things that, involve with travel. And so what they were doing was reaching out and saying, I have this incredible opportunity. You just need to make, certain payments up front for me to reserve your, vacation or car or whatever it is. But then what was interesting is they made it, as we see some of these scams get more and more complex, is they took the time to identify who the particular managers were at some of these other locations, so that if they wanted to second check it and verify, it seemed legitimate. They even impersonated some of the general managers at these businesses to add more legitimacy to the ruse. So it made it difficult to kind of discover that it was a scam until it was too late.
And how did they find out this? I mean, luckily somebody recognized this, but how did they ultimately stop this from, sort of stop this? Because it doesn't end as well as you hope.
Yeah, 2 of them. One of them, so we had 2 different unfortunate circumstances with this particular scam. One of them was they arrived at the vacation destination and didn't have a reservation. And so, of course, that, and this was, outside the country, which adds all kinds of logistical difficulties. The other one and how it was discovered is someone took one of the tips that we talk about all the time and said, let me confirm and make sure that this is legitimate, because something just didn't quite feel right. And so they called the general manager directly at one of these numbers that they trusted that was posted online. And that general manager said, I never said that. I never called you. This program isn't offered. This particular individual who is offering these things is no longer employed here, would not have the ability to offer that. And then it all unraveled. But unfortunately, by that time, they had already paid $4,000, and it was too late.
Yeah, they were refunded less than 3% of the total that they had paid over the course of several months.
Right.
That's pretty crazy. So if you're going to try and analyze this and be like, okay, how can this not happen to me? This one's a hard one. Usually I'm like, Michael, there was this red flag and that red flag and this and that.
Well, I will say, sometimes we can give you tips on what red flags to look for. Sometimes they're just not going to be there, and sometimes you really just have to go on intuition. Now, If you have friends or family or a trusted source, that's what's going to make this particular one successful, is because we're going to let our guards down because we already trust you. You don't even have to kind of purport any part of the scam because you already have that. What I would say is if you have situations where you know them, but all of a sudden they're asking for things that are weird, we talk about payment apps or paying through gift cards. If you have somebody they're like, hey, pay me through a gift card or pay me through this app, which is a little bit different than normally how you guys interact, that should be a red flag. And it doesn't mean that that it's not true, but it is something that you say, well, wait a second. If you start seeing additional context or, hey, this person now, or this over-validation of it, that also is something you're saying, well, this isn't typically what I'm used to. Anything that seems to be straying from the norm, we want everyone to just key in on for a second and say, how can I validate this? And the one thing we always do is initiate that contact. Don't be the one who's responding to these phone calls from whoever it may be. Go to a trusted phone number that you know is either online or something that you've called before. Reach out directly, verify what you know. You're probably going to be safe at that point.
Man, it's unfortunate, because you hope for the best from friends, family, or whatever. Yeah. And, like you said, you started off with saying it's not like you're trying to say everything in this world is terrible or this and that, but I think being aware of that scams can happen anywhere, and right even in your backyard is something just to keep an eye out for when considering everything that's going on in this busy world.
It is, so many times, I would say most of the time it's going to be somebody who's unknown, right? But we've read enough stories and we've lived enough time to realize that sometimes you fall on hard times, and people will do whatever it takes to meet whatever needs that they have, and so these things can happen. And also, you could be inadvertently, someone could have their phone or their email, exploited or hacked, and all of a sudden, now they're reaching out under the guise of someone else. So it doesn't necessarily always mean that there is, a friend or family behind it, but you always want to be diligent in paying attention.
Yeah, well, especially when you're spending, a good amount of money on travel or whatever it is,
Yeah.
You want to make sure that you're getting the right deal, the right price, and not scammed. Well, you have a lot of great resources on the website, but more importantly, it is also a place to report issues or incidents. So maybe you're going down this path and you're like, Michael, I might have something here. Where would you suggest that they report it?
Well, they have a couple options they can report it. First, if you want to talk to us, you can give us a call at 1-800-422-7128. You could send us an email at DATCP@wisconsin.gov. Or if you want to do your own research and kind of educate yourself proactively, you can go to consumerprotection.wi.gov, and we have a library of resources available for you.